My parents always said they never wanted kids. Relatives told me I was an accident, a surprise they never planned for. At first, life was okay. But as I grew older, it became clear that my parents weren't interested in being parents. They were too busy building their business, a business that consumed their lives. To them, I was always second best. The rest of my family lived in different states, so I didn't have grandparents, aunts, or uncles around. I was raised by TV and my teachers. Birthdays? My parents handed me cash and told me to buy whatever I wanted. Christmas? Same deal. By the time I was 10, I had to beg them for a fake Christmas tree just so we'd have something festive in the house. Without me, there wouldn't have been any holiday spirit at all. If I had to describe my parents, they were the kind of people who wore all black, drank too much wine, and frowned at the world. Even as adults, they never changed. The last time I saw them, my dad was still wearing a 2PAC shirt, and my mom was still scowling at everyone. When I turned 16, I asked if I could work part-time at their business. They shut me down, saying there were no openings. Looking back, I realized they just didn't want me around. As soon as I turned 18, they told me to move out. I had a part-time job, but I wasn't ready for the real world. I didn't have enough savings for college, and they didn't care. They handed me a 30-day notice to vacate and didn't even help me move. I had to rely on a friend's dad with a truck to get my things out. I ended up in a rundown apartment, working retail jobs and struggling to make ends meet. Life was hard, and I made mistakes. I lost jobs, ran out of money, and even ended up sleeping in a tent during the winter. My parents refused to help, even when I begged. They didn't care if I froze or starved. But then, a neighbor stepped in. She took me in temporarily and helped me reconnect with my dad's side of the family, people I hadn't seen since I was a baby. My grandparents were shocked to hear what had happened. They flew me out to live with them and essentially adopted me. For the first time in my life, I felt loved and supported. With their help, I got back on my feet. I started community college, earned an associate's degree, and even bought my grandparents' house when they decided to retire. Life was finally looking up, but then, in late 2020, I came home to find my parents had broken into my house and were living there like they owned the place. They claimed they had nowhere else to go. Their business had failed, and they'd lost everything. But instead of asking for help, they just took over my home. They refused to leave, even when I begged them to. They lied to the police, saying they had my permission to stay. It took months of legal battles to finally evict them. When they left, I thought it was over. But recently, I found out they've started a new business, funded by an inheritance from my maternal grandfather. They're back to their old lives, acting like nothing happened. Meanwhile, I'm still picking up the pieces of mine. I've thought about selling my house and moving far away, somewhere they can't find me. But for now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life. My parents may have abandoned me, but I've learned one thing. Family isn't about blood. It's about the people who show up when you need them most. And for me, that's my grandparents and the friends who've stood by my side. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this. No matter how hard life gets, there's always a way forward. You just have to keep fighting.